It'll take 30-40 seconds for people to come in.
Okay.
Raquel Trevino, yay! Yeah, it's a big yay for everybody. Oh man.
I'm clicking on the link and I'm getting this link is unavailable.
Try it again. Refresh it. Let me do it. I'm doing the same thing right now.
Okay.
Facebook. No, it's working.
I wonder why mine is saying content found. I wonder if it's a number or something in that link you sent me.
No, hang on. I'll find it. I'll do it again.
Okay. You know what? I clicked on the picture rather than the link. I got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay.
Why mine is saying content found.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. I hear it.
Yeah.
All right, what happened? Here we go. Unity Grace. Yeah, it's good. We got 29 people in the house. We see you both. We got some good friends on here. Angela Brinkerhoff, John Kennedy, my homeboy from Irving, Texas. Thank you for your contributions. Linda Winger, same to you. Raquel Trevino. Yuki is on. Yuki, we got to get Yuki back on here. Deborah Varga Melick and Cecilia Engler. So we got a lot of people on here. Thank you all for coming to the Love Stream, Unity Grace Love Stream. Yeah, Mary Aline, Susan McDonald, Laurel Gale. They're all coming.
Family.
What's going on today? Oh man, the last few. Yeah.
It's a good question. I'm just going to share this to a couple of pages here, Todd.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Miriam Maldonado, Gina Anatanazi, Lorna Monroe, Sherry Apple-Annie, Susan Baxter Fitz. How are you doing?
Mary.
Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you all for the love and support and contributions. We've been hit and miss for 9 days, but we're fixing to kick this thing off over the next few days. We got a lot of stuff lined up, including another love stream with Unity Grace and a couple of her very dear friends, Divine Goddesses, on Friday Pacific time, 7/11. And I'm going to put that out today. I've got some text to put into the announcement. Kat Millar, what's going on? You activated me. Kat activated me the other night. Morgan and Unity and I were having a message communion or something going on. And then something told me, go find Kat Millar. I'm like, Kat Millar, I remember that name. And then I found this message she had sent. And yeah, it activated me. Thank you, Kat. Yeah. Renee Daniels, Nina Mickelson, how you doing? Michelson. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. It's been a very, very productive morning. We got 52 people in the house, 56. Shell Maxwell. Yeah. I know everybody's feeling the energy. Leslie Zerman from Chicago. Yeah. Wendy Ziegler. Yes. That's the angels. I feel that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm organized.
Very good. That was a stabilization, equalization. Both of my ears are hearing the tones, two different tones. We got Cornwall, UK, Cyprus is in the house. We got Israel's in the house. We got Hawaii's in the house. And I believe all of our multidimensional aspects are in the house too, because I feel a huge audience. Yeah.
What's shaking?
What's shaking? You know, I woke up this morning, and the first thing I did was I started to write. I was actually writing Morgan. Oh man, I'm getting beautiful, beautiful cranial pressure. This is going to be a show full of activation. Shelley Sullivan's here. She'll be here on Friday. She's got some stuff going on. So I start writing this message to her this morning.
Amanda.
Hey, Amanda, what's going on at the tour? Let me read this to you. So I woke up this morning and I went to bed last night after a very intense dimensional transmission where I moved some energy or whatever anchored for the collective divine masculine. It involved Thoth and it involved all these really badass galactic avian warriors. And we had a ceremony where we basically rid ourselves of the armor and the weaponry of the illusionary masculine for this realm and for all dimensions. So this is what I wrote this morning. This is the first thing I wrote. Wow, what a dream state. Something major has happened. I don't know what yet, but I do know it has to do in the biggest way with personal sovereignty. And personally, I don't feel it is specific to gender, collectively or individually, but a universal maxim for the human soul multi-seeded hybrid as we further navigate this transition. It has to do with bringing the truth to the surface. Yet, part of that does include owning, taking responsibility for our roles associated with gender and the labels, advantages, liberties lived and taken as a result of that conditioning. Consciously aligning in every way with our inner voice, what we eat, where we live, what our mission is, etc., not to be confused with what is good or not for others, strictly for ourselves. Externalization is projection, another word for avoidance of self. Externalization is also seeking completion, gratification, etc., outside of ourselves, also avoidance of self. We are here to find God, Goddess, and we are that. From our hearts, we want to give to the world the purest, best that we are, and it is love. Loving ourselves is listening, honoring, heeding to our own voice. When we do, all we could ever hope to give to the world flows in the perfect order we are, to us, from us, and for us. Thank you for letting me share that.
I think we're going to have to get Mr. Sandalphesi to write some music for that.
Sandalphesi,
wow.
yeah. I'm going to reach out to him today. And I actually had what I taught you, but I had it in my head about 2 hours ago. It was coming out. And so I thought of him. I thought, you know what? Yeah, I'll just send the words, see what he can come up with. Wow, you feel this? I feel it. Yeah. I feel the back of, you do?
A really profound building right now.
Yeah.
Because we jumped into this show for 11/11, and in the old paradigm, this may be a disorganized start, but it's not. It's the consciousness that is taking us over as we are gathering for something greater than we realize that is to come. And that is what is filling the house and the room right now, because this morning I was going to swim and then I didn't create the space for it. And then I was going to meditate and I didn't create the space for it because the energy was so big. I just kept moving. And I just knew that when we came together collectively, and I'm watching all the places coming to mind in the house, Israel, in the house, the tour, and Canada in the house. All these places in the house. Let us know where you're in the house from.
Nova Scotia.
Has to do with the new crystalline ray frequencies coming in through the new crop circle that we saw. And this is what the guidance showed the other day, is that we would be reorganizing and reorienting ourselves around those frequencies as they come in as acupuncture needles upon the earth plane. Something greater than us is involuting inside of us to create a new divine expression, reflection on the external. And it's happening. Scottish Highlands, Norway, Iceland, Argentina, Ontario, Durango, Denver, Colorado, Canada, Quebec, Northern California, Tasmania, Minnesota, Princeton, New Jersey, Connecticut, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Williamsburg, Virginia, St. Ives, Cornwall, New Mexico, Montana, Norway, San Francisco, Glastonbury, England. Love Amanda Lawrence. Southwest Ontario, Canada. Wow. 345 Pacific Ave, North Pacific, North Carolina, BC. Todd, do you want to read some of them?
Calgary, Canada, Maui, San Francisco, California, Florida, Portland, Oregon. They're coming so fast. North Carolina, Latvia, Pennsylvania, San Diego, Calgary, Canada, East Yorkshire, UK. Let's see, North Central Texas, Florida, Nova Scotia. Someone's international. Boulder Gardens, Romania. The Netherlands, Germany, Perth, Washington, Norway, New York, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, Seattle, Chicago, Washington, D.C. They just keep going. Labrador, Cortes Island, British Columbia, Vancouver Island, Chule Marie. Seattle, Salt Lake, Greece, Canadians, Port Arena, California, Puerto Rico, and Houston, Texas, and another Vancouver Islands over there. Hawaii's in the house too. Yeah. Yes, we are united.
We are united. That's what this is about. This is the power of the common person.
Yeah.
Unify. And that's what's happening within us and all around us. It's not what Hollywood sold us. It's not what the fashion runway sold us. It's as supreme. It's you and it's me and it's all of us together, unifying through the language of the heart, because we have been on a magnificent journey of the courage of the human heart to overcome all obstacles, to come together as one global family. And this is what this is about, because in order for a species to ascend, we must unify. We must become the United Nations of the earth. And that is what is happening in this blog, in this podcast, in this love stream, in this moment in time and space, in the miracle beyond the time and space, in the quantum. That is what is coming through us now, and what we are feeling collectively together. And you can feel it in the field, in our bodies, because our physical carbon, our DNA communicates non-locally, and it's unifying. And as it unifies, we up-level collectively as a species, transcending gravity together, because the way a species ascends is through the ascent of the family. And that's what's happening here. It's programmed in our DNA. So maybe this love stream is spacious. Maybe there's moments when others come on with us. We are in total free flow. Allow ourselves to actually feel what is happening to the atoms and particles that make up our form. Because as we feel into this, as we breathe into it collectively, because that was the vision of the Christ, that we breathe as one. And as we breathe into this collectively, the particles of 3D begin to separate and spread wider and wider. And it dissolves the veils of what we are seeing with our 3D vision. It dissolves the veils of this current time and space. It's already happened because it's programmed in us, but we get to experience it because that is the joy of coming for the ride, for the journey to embody, the blessed journey to be embodied in physicality and form, to actually experience together what we have practiced lifetime upon lifetime in linear time and dimension to do. That's what we are here for. We come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Never let Hollywood or those fashion runways tell us what we should look like, because that was a lie. This is what we look like together collectively. Look at the faces and profile pictures of all who are uniting in the house, because this is who we are and this is what we look like. Perfect and imperfect in every beautiful, lovely way. This is who we are, humanity as a family. This is truth unifying in us. And this is the beginning. This is the launch of we as the butterfly together. This is bigger than all of us, and we don't know what it is, but by communion and coming together, we get to ride the crest of this wave and discover what it looks like miracle by miracle and celebrate. Aho.
Aho. Yes. This started last week. We did a show, and Unity said we're going to do a show on 7/11 and 11/11. And so we connected yesterday. And we, like many of us, when we speak to each other, we transmit. And she put some stuff down. I wrote as fast as I could, and I said, I'm going to put a little. I haven't written a soul speak in a long time. Put some music. Our friend, we get our good friend she introduced me to put some music behind it. But the energies came in last night. But the whole, and I couldn't get to it. But the whole, which leads to the spontaneity and the purity of this moment. But the whole gist of what she was talking about and transmitting was so universal and put in a way that, in its profound simplicity, simply profound, because the universal is a simple communicative, way that we receive. And we complicated it. This earth complicated it, or whatever you want to call it. But it was all about the fact that there is no separation. That there was separation perceived from each one of our vehicles, even within our own tribes. So I got up today and I wrote another one. And I'm just putting it out there because that's what we do. 117 in the house. All of our lineage is coming back. We are the bridge of what we know and what is still unknown. The memories are beginning to flood to the heart, mind, and spirit. I am soul, but I am much, much more than that. I am journeying through many planets and stars, and so are each one of you. Blue avian, blue Hopi, and those of the deep blue. We are all the ancient builders, all known seeds, races, and not. Nothing separates us, not any past, future, parallel life recalled, not any level of transmission, talent, skill, channeling, download, and certainly nothing in these many incarnations of the earth. The earth is the center. All we have created, been, experienced is returning to whence it originated. Every aspect returns to us. Everything returns to us. Surrender to the embrace. The human is the mission. The human is the gift. The human is the hero. I am that I am. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Oh.
No.
I don't know. Is anyone else on the love stream experiencing?
Yes, they are. They are. They're making comments, but I can't.
If you're having water run from your eyes.
Yeah, it's 118 in the house.
Let us know.
Yeah. Somebody's heart was exploding a minute ago. We underestimate the human being. The human being is a divine essence. The universe is learning through us as we learn through the universe. The multidimensional aspects are learning through us and living through us and loving through us in expansion as we do through them, which is us. That's all the big you, me, we, and it. And the biggest thing I received this morning was for us to step into our power, all of us, and in unity. In unity. Yeah. Powerful, powerful time we're in. We're moving into, and we're in. Thank you, Unity Grace, for bringing this together. And for everybody that's here, we all brought this together.
Thank you, Todd Medina. This morning, I'm looking for this piece in the Gene Keys about water and tears right now, but because it's so beautiful. This morning, when I woke up, I got a message from a dear brother. He's thanking me for the love streams and the messages. And then he also said some things that gave me some comparison to really recognize Todd Medina and who you are for us. Because the thing about you, Todd, is that you've held the pillar for the feminine voice to rise, and you've done it in an honoring and respectful way. And that's where the unity lies at.
It's okay.
So good.
We got you. We're holding space.
So I spent time with the Star Knowledge family, Chief Golden Light Eagle, Grandma Silver Star, Chief Blue Star, and Marshall Golden Eagle Jack, many of the elders, Jose Menez, Federico, Carrie of the Calendar, the Sixth Sun, and so on, and other indigenous elders. And the one thing that I really learned from Chief Golden Light Eagle and Grandma Silver Star and Chief Blue Star was grace. And at several of the gatherings that I went to, Chief would stand up and ask the masculine to please rise. And as Todd said in what he was reading, it's not about the separation of the masculine and the feminine. It's not about dividing ourselves up. But Chief would ask the men to rise to be pillars to help share the feminine voice. And I was so grateful this morning for the moment when Todd first reached out to me. I was in Europe, and I went and looked at his page, And I went, this man is a big bear with a gentle heart. And whatever he has had to overcome on his path, he's done it through his heart and his curiosity and his willingness to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, overcoming self-judgment for what we call mistakes, because that's what we've been doing, is judging ourselves along the way. And Joe Dispenza really gave me a big piece recently, which I share about often, in February, when I went to one of his week-longs, and he talked about, you know, reading the books of the greats on the planet, Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King and others. And Joe used the word initiation, and he said, yeah, we've had these experiences on our path on this great human journey that we're all unifying from now. What I call the first potluck. We're coming home to the first potluck to share the jewels and the gems of our journeys. It's a really important piece now for people to be able to share their stories.
Yes.
Not from the place of the wounding, because the wounding is alchemized within us, and now we're bringing forth the treasures. And this is a time for people to gather and collect and share the stories from the place of the treasure, the first potluck, the gift that we're bringing home, the distilled version and the essence of our journey. And so Joe Dispenza said, so what, you fall off the horse? You think those people like Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela and others didn't fall off their horse? They just didn't judge themselves for their mistakes. Yeah. They weren't afraid of making mistakes. They just got up off the ground, dusted themselves off, and got back on, and they called it an initiation. And that was one of the tiny little tools that was really transformational for me to move out of these final pieces of the victim-victimizer consciousness that run through the waters of our collective being. Because the 55th gene, the final shadow for us to overcome, is the victim-victimizer consciousness. And that's the final polarity that implodes together, is when we recognize it's all our story. We created it all. We no longer have to judge ourselves for it. In fact, we can come forth and be really proud of it, because we're, with discernment and distillation, we're bringing forth the gift of what we learned. And so I started using that word initiation, and I just went, perfect. Every time the little voices would come up and judge and criticize my journey, I would go, check that box. I just passed another initiation. Keep going. So that's the place that we're at. And I just honor and love you, Todd Medina, for what you've brought to me and humanity and the feminine voice within all of us, whether it's being spoken from a man or a woman. Yeah. You were a stand for the restoration of the feminine voice in the masculine heart. And that was your initiation that you started speaking of, that you had last night as the embodiment, because as Soulogy, you have carried the bridge, the merging of the lower and the higher nature. That's what Soulogy is. Today we are birthing something greater, even beyond the soul. We are moving into the cosmic Akash. That is what this launch is about. It's the restoration of the pillars to the tree of life, home to the cosmic Akash, our birthright as interdimensional beings, home to the stars, activating our supernatural capacities. It's all coded within us. And that's what these transmissions are for. And as I have shared before, many times, on the 8th of July, 2013, I was shown the entire tree of life in an instant, and the guidance that it's the living library. It will become the largest global broadcasting network for peace. This is it. Doesn't matter what we call it, because this is it, people. This is the continued growth and gathering of people through the airways to bring our noble hearts and our gentle voices together through the sound of our love, our tears, our sharing, our stories, and the birth of our imagination as something greater than we can even know. This is the restoration of the garden Sophia as she was meant to be. restored in the 13th aeon of the Christ. It's all coded languaging that is within us that turns on the sequencing to release and liberate us from two-strand DNA. I noticed something profound just as we were coming online. A year ago, I just reposted it on my page, and you can go and look at this amazing picture, because the timing of cycles within cycles never seems to stop amazing me. And a year ago on this day was the luminosity gathering. It was created by divine individuals who felt the call to bring people together in very sacred gatherings on these North American lines in British Columbia. At Luminosity, they asked me to do the opening ceremonies last year and the year before, and last year was the first year I was here to take part. And what came through was an hour-long transmission, and the photo says it all. Please go look at it on my Unity Grace page. The photo says it all, because a transmission came through me that was inviting the people all to rise up, to find our voice. It was a transmission to activate the throat chakra, to have everyone make sound with their voice and their word, to speak their light language, to find it within them. The language of the light is our own personal coding and story within. Babies speak light language and we call it goo goo gaga, but it's not. It's the language from the stars. They are speaking to us, and they are coming to us with it, and it is within all of us. And if we go and we just look at that page, because the hour-long transmission, or however long it lasted, with amazing accompaniment from beautiful musicians and artists with me, got everyone to rise. And at the end of it, I had a lineup of 21-year-old men coming to me, a lineup. And they were all saying, oh my God, Unity Grace, what the fuck was that? Because that's happened in me that I've never felt before in my heart, and I can't stop crying. And I said, that's your personal voice.
Yeah.
That's your personal voice, and that's what the launch of this largest global broadcasting network for peace is, whatever it looks like. It is a platform for us to share the golden nugget, the gift of our journey now. Because as we share those gifts, and you can type them in, they come in simple 1 and 2 words, because they look symbolic. Bring them forward, and let us all unify these gifts at this potluck, because as we do, we will birth an imagination of the roadmap collectively home to the stars. Aho.
Oh, that's a powerful picture. I just looked at it. I put it up there.
Someone just said, can you show it again?
Okay. Let me pull it back up. Whew. Thank you for all these incredible comments. Here it is.
And to Moki and to Rain, who were called as star beings to create that gathering that happened for several years in British Columbia, and they always kept it small and compact.
Yeah.
2 amazing star beings who I love deeply and honor them for listening.
Yeah. Yeah. This experience I went through last night with Thoth and the avian warriors, at the end of it, after we built sacred fires and we put into the sacred fires our armor and our weapons and all the illusionary mask of the masculine. we then went across this bridge. There was a passageway open, and we all walked across this bridge. And I'll read the last of it. The death in the fire, the death of the masculine warrior represented in the most somber reinitiation ceremony, and then a passage opened, and we walked across the bridge to our paradise, and all around and everything could be seen the presence of her, Sophia, the mother goddess, creation. And then we ran into the fields, and the purity of curiosity, innocence, and love, play, and the full life of our power came through, rebirth, reborn. We have laid down our arms, illusions manifested. We have opened our arms, reality materializes. The energetic ramifications of that has cosmic impact not just here in the realm of the Mother Gaia, but in every single dimension. You cannot underestimate the power of one unique and equal multi-dimensional being, which is each and every one of us. Mm-hmm.
Todd Medina, you're a godsend. Thank you for being. Thank you for being a voice and representing the merging of all of these aspects of the masculine and the feminine within you. Soulology.
Thank you, everyone. Mm-hmm.
I said to Todd yesterday, Todd and I have the most incredible conversations together, and I walk through the forest when I'm talking with him, and the commonalities and all the visions that we've been shown on our paths and our journeys are profound, like exact coding to show us that what we're bringing together and aligning is truth. It's beyond us. And I said to Todd, that's why you came in that big bare body of yours. And Todd recently told me he thought I was a little pixie at like 5 feet tall. And I'm like, heck no, I'm 6'3" Pleiadian, brother. And I said, Todd, it's a good thing you came in that great big bare body. And he said, well, heck, I was kind of hoping to be 6'5" or 6'6".
Yeah. 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 It's all amazing.
We're blessed with the bodies that we come in.
Yeah.
And that's such an important part. And what I'm seeing, because this call out for the weekend, for the gatherings around the world, to just gather and unify with people. Gather on this Saturday, share your wisdom, share your teachings, share your understanding of the Earth Tantra and the energy that's running through us. Share your learnings of the inner alchemy that's occurring through us, so we can consciously ride these waves joyously and graciously together. And then on Sunday, let's go to the earth. And so as we've mentioned many times before, because this all came through spontaneously when we did a love stream, I guess a week ago Saturday, and the guidance said, invite the people of the earth to gather at 4:11 p.m. Pacific on this Saturday, and we'll go into meditation together, and the light language will come through for the activation of unity consciousness, that overdoming of the Christed overself over all of us, in to help uplift and accelerate the process of the unification of our collective physicality with the collective monad of the Christed overself. And Christed means the teachings of quantum physics. Christ is not a religion. Christ is a teaching that reminds the spirit how to move in and out of the realms of physicality at will. It's the reclamation of our interdimensionality and our birthright home into the magnificent tree of life, teeming with life for royal experiences of love throughout creation. And so then on Sunday, we're guided to invite people to go to the earth collectively. Maybe you go on your own, whatever, just go to the earth. And with our sovereign voice, as Todd said, this is about using our voice, finding our voice, activating our voice, finding the courage and the power to claim our right for the dissolution of the veils of separation, the dissolution of the old paradigm, the old structure that's falling away. It's natural for the cocoon to dry up and fall away. And so by consciously participating, consciously accelerating, we have the capacity to accelerate the process by using our word through love. And I'm going to share two pieces because it's coded in our DNA. Beautiful Richard Rudd, thank you for the book, The Gene Keys. There it is. I hold it up. People always go, what book was that? Can you send me a private? But I don't have time to send private messages to everyone of what this book is. So I hold it up. It's called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. Gene, Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. And you can go online and find out where you can order it. But there's two things here that the guidance prompted me yesterday to show us how we have the power to actually do this, to dissolve the old reality. And let me say this. The old reality is a reality that we're all ready to let go of, regardless of which role we're playing in it currently. We are all asking and calling for the same thing. We know this because enough of us chose love and crashed 7 generation timelines in 2017, May of 2017. And we know this for certain because the human resonance, the heartbeat of the earth, leapt to 130 hertz on that day as confirmation that we chose love and we chose to end duality consciously. That's the power creation gave us. We could either follow the evolutionary cycle out, which eventually would have let us out, or we could make the choice consciously. So the 35th gene, the 35th gene is the gene of love. It's called adventure in the gift, and it's about the adventure of risking it all for love, which means accepting everything that comes to us and saying, this too I can love, and in loving it, this too shall pass. So here's the coding for how powerful we truly are to go to the Earth Sunday and actually use our voice, our sound. Maybe we speak light language, maybe we tone, maybe we speak to the earth, maybe we yell and scream, whatever it is that's coming through the voice to activate it, because this is the activation of the music of the spheres. This is like the orchestra all tuning up, and then the orchestra leader taps his little stick, and we all begin in harmony to sing the most beautiful harmonic sound of creation to creation. So this is the opening up of everyone tuning their instrument on Sunday. And at a certain point, collectively, the cosmos will hear our sound harmonize together. Do not be afraid to activate the voice however we are guided. The 35th gene. The 35th gift is the only place within all human DNA that human beings have a choice in how their reality is constructed. The 35th gene is the key. Love. If we choose love and we express from a place of love, and I always say love is not mushy-gushy. Love means neutrality. Love means acceptance of what is, knowing that it is all a personal reflection of what vibration we are emanating outside of the self. Love means taking responsibility for our creation and welcoming it back in, because the moment we do, when we welcome it, we neutralize it. Yeah. And that neutralizes the wave of something we may have created in the past that is emanating out and creating something we no longer want to create. Love means taking responsibility and saying, this is a reflection of me. Maybe not a reflection of me in this moment, but a reflection of a wave I can remember that I let spiral out of me some time ago in time. I welcome it back. I hold it like a human child. I just hold it gently. and it will neutralize. So the 35th gene is telling us all the other genes have to follow the evolutionary cycle out, except creation gave us one shortcut if we chose love. The 35th gene allows us once again to the choice in how our reality is constructed. If we jump to the 60th gene, the cracking of the veil, the Earthship Merkaba, the gates opening, this is all about magic. And it's about letting go of structure. It says that a little bit of structure is good. Too much structure creates rigidity, and it stops the flow of natural, simple magic, miracles, synchronicities. It says, when the 60th CD begins to ignite in multiple beings, it will be the end of the world as we know it. Everything will indeed be revealed in its true sense. The laws that hold together the earth will crack, and our planet will begin to transmute. The 60th CD has been known by certain esoteric schools as the Merkaba. The true collective Merkaba is the earth herself, the spirit of Gaia, who is rising into the monad, the Atma of Sophia. When the earth disappears, it will do so suddenly, and all the cells that have held the consciousness we call Gaia will move to another reality. And this is where we have the power to assert our word through love, because the 35th is telling us if we align with love, we can create our own reality. The call out on Sunday, on this gathering in the meditation on Saturday, is to assert our authority for the dissolution of the veils, the old monetary system, the old structures of hierarchy that no longer serve us, that no longer work. This is the calling in of the star nations, our interdimensionality. Think apple, produce apple in the palm of the hand. We don't need a middleman to create. The womb is about creation. Men have a womb called a hara, and so do women. This is about asserting our authority to create once more. And the mechanics are actually programmed in the genetics that we all carry collectively together. These sharings are to empower people to truly just understand the mechanics within.
Wonderful. I love what you said about the spiraling out. We let it spiral out. So I was immediately taken back to last night when I was in that holy temple with all the warriors. And the one that was across from me was reptilian. Now, everything as I understood it in that moment, that's me. That's something that spiraled out of me. And I've had many memories of battling what we would refer to in the past as light versus dark, or against the reptilian energy. That reptilian energy was me. That reptilian energy came into my heart. It was just part of me that spiraled out, like you were talking about in that write-up. That's all it was. When I was guided by the divine feminine in my life, ask them to come into your heart. But before he did, he said, "I'm laying my weapon down, lay yours down." This is me. I'm talking to me. So that spiraling out went to that extent, and all I'm doing is bringing I'm bringing myself back into my heart. That's what we're all doing. You know, that's a profound reading from that book. It's a profound reading.
It's the collection of the fragmented aspects of our home, of ourselves, bring them home. And so if we go back to this idea, what I always say, if we came together at the Last Supper, we all celebrated, we drank, we partied, we ate good food, and next day maybe we got up with some hangovers from the kombucha or whatever, but we all headed off down our own pathways in the forest of the tree of life. Yeah. Each one walked an individual path, and this is the beautiful thing. There's infinite ways home to creation. It's why religion ultimately fails, because religion says there's only certain ways home, but that we all know within us there's infinite ways and infinite paths, because creation is infinite. And so we all went down our own path into the forest, into the tree of life, to have our experiences, to be the warrior, to be the princess, to be the king, to be the, you know, the guy who cleans up the untouchables, who cleans up the shit in the streets of India, whatever. We've collectively ventured into all the realms and aspects of the human experience for creation as explorers. We have been the explorers of the human heart. And so as we come together for the first potluck, we're all coming home, laying down the shield, laying down the weapons, and we're discerning what to bring home to the first potluck. And this is the greatest renaissance ever. Carl Kalaman, who to me was the greatest master of the end of the Mayan calendar, which he said ended October 28, 2011. And mathematically, it made perfect sense because it tied in perfectly with 11, 11, 11. And he said those who understood this and were aligned with the shift at that time knew to program the field, the pure plasma at 11, 11, 11 for a new earth. And he said those who were aligned would be on the cutting edge of the wave of the greatest renaissance ever. And what is this greatest renaissance? The greatest renaissance is us. We can create a marble structure. Concept marble stone structure as the Renaissance creation. So the Renaissance artists created the greatest beauty. And what did their beauty represent? It represented their awakening through the 64 codons of the DNA. When I was with dear brother Sandalphon on 11/11 in ceremony, at one point I looked into his face and I saw the Mona Lisa. And below the Mona Lisa, I saw the square at St. Peter's Square. And I saw all the structures and all the coding. And I went, oh my God, I get what the Mona Lisa is and why she draws all of us. Because what's coded beneath the face is the full activation of the 64 codons of the DNA. These Renaissance artists had walked the complete understanding of the activation of all of the codons of the I Ching, or our human DNA. They had understood because they had embodied all the archetypal forms. That's what all this is. It's all archetypal. It's not meant to be clung to or held on to. It's like an artist going into an art store and trying out the Mary Magdalene paint to see if they like the color and the texture. Then they just take the essence of it and release the rest and let it go. So the greatest renaissance ever is us. It's we collectively, how we show up at the first potluck in our shining countenance, our miraculous radiance coming through, the alchemical process activated within our DNA, the dissolution of the double helix and the carbon-based DNA, and the activation of our triple helix, which ignites us in these physical bodies, our beautiful vessels, and the activation of what the guidance has shown is the 9 Arc Merkaba, home to the stars. Flight Lessons 101, getting into the center of our mothership and driving our motherships home.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. You said that was October of 2011? You said the calendar ended?
October 28, 2011.
October 28, 2011. That really resonates. It does. You know, so many of us have been through this where I started to face waking up, I'll put it that way, in May the 30th at 1:11 in the morning in 2011. So I started a few weeks later walking the streets by my own volition, and most people know, went homeless. So I was out in October of 2011, 18 miles from the place where I had rented a hotel room, and I was in a bar and raising hell, and my human wasn't able to understand. I'm saying this because I think it might help some other people. Because even now, everything's in the spectrum and it's just relative to where we're at. But so, long story short, I'm 18 miles from where I had got a hotel room, which was very rare. And I was having to leave very quickly after getting into an altercation. So I'm walking across this field, and I remember, I'm not sure if it was October 28th, but I know there was a 2 in it because I wrote a piece on it. I was trying to find it, and I start walking across this field, and a storm comes in, the first winter snap, and I don't have a coat on. I got a T-shirt on, and it's raining, and there's one single tree in this field, in this warehouse district, one single tree. And I was crying, I was bawling my eyes out. What the hell is going on? Why am I getting all this stuff coming in? And am I crazy? You know, and I went to the tree and I kneeled under the tree, still getting soaking wet, freezing. And I hit my knees and I said, you know, to the you, me, we, and it, I need help. Help me. And I heard this voice say, go to the last door on the right and open it. I'm like, what? What is this? You know? And I look down here and there's this warehouse. It's probably as long as a football field, literally. And I walk all the way down to the very last door on the right. And I go up the stairs and I reach to open the door. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it opens. And, you know, I went inside. It was like a place where they put stuff in boxes and ship it. I mean, you know, I laid down on the conveyor belt. It wasn't moving, and I went to sleep on some boxes. But, you know, I don't know why I'm even telling this story. but that voice is there for all of us. It's there, you know, it's there.
We were talking about October 2011.
Yeah. That was October 2011, and it was very much a turning point for me because but what you were saying about how we framed up what was going to happen or whatever it took to get us to wake up. You know, on the human level, I was in a very traumatically, you know, impaired situation, but it wasn't real. You know, it wasn't real. And that voice, I guess, is kind of like a micro of listening to that voice, regardless of how crazy it is. Because obviously, I could have been in trouble. But the last door on the right of about 20 doors, and I heard the voice, and we hear this voice. We hear this voice, all of us, and it's been long enough, and we've you know, the stories are over. The stories are over. I got to tell something personal that happened to me this morning too. I'm in my hometown for all intents and purposes, or at least where I spent most of my adult life. Actually, this is the first time that all 6 of my children are in the same city with me. I don't know if I'll see them. But something happened to me this morning, and along with everything else, and I came to understand the stories are over. I don't belong here anymore, and I don't think that's just from a geographical sense. I think that's from a reality of my consciousness, and I feel like this is a collective thing. We have to go where we have to go where we know we're supposed to go. We have to honor ourselves and heed that voice, and that's what I came to today. And I guess in another way, that sacred fire is burning, and I'm throwing some more stuff in there. but it's not real, and we all are one. And to be able to sit here today and say that in some way, I don't really understand, I'm maybe walking away from my children, and I'm okay with that because I know everything's what it is, and I know that I'm here for a reason. We're all here for a reason, and we have to be true to that. Yeah.
I love you, Todd.
I love you. I love everybody out here.
You're
that shares
from your heart.
150 people plus in the house. I believe that says 156. It's a beautiful energy, yes. Yeah, I watched these energies for 7 years and about 4 years of broadcasting, and you can see people walk in the door, they stay. This is a something beyond the literal and visible light, visible senses. This is the unseen energy. All of our aspects coming together in this vortex in this moment.
12-12.
Screenshot. Oh yeah, I should be doing that, right? Let me do one. Well, oh my God.
Your story is so profound and such beautiful sharing. And I feel to just help us understand the mechanics of this, what this is, what you're sharing when you say the stories are over. Going back to our genes and the gene keys, thank you, Richard Rudd, for setting us out so much understanding of what would happen or what was happening to us. And from the perspective of water, which is what I've walked for the last 8 years working with and praying with. So I say water is my greatest teacher, and water has taught me everything that I know. And we're bags of water. And so when we drop a pebble in the center of a still pond, it creates a ripple. When we activate an emotion in the center of our still water bag, it creates a ripple. And I was sharing with someone something yesterday that there's a difference between emotion and feeling. So the mental and emotional body separated. Patricia Cota Robles, who's one of the greatest, I feel like she has been committed to this path for decades. And she has been a voice for the feminine Christ, the Sophionic energies, and a great teacher speaking the Christed codes for so long. And what she said on December 21st, 2012, was that humanity was given special dispensation. And the thing I say about all of this stuff is don't cling to this literally. Take what resonates, throw the rest away, because this is all storytelling to understand a greater process. So don't cling to the stories or descriptions of what is being shared, but just go, oh, this puts a piece of my puzzle together here, this puts a piece there, let the rest go. Because the storytelling is just to get reference of where each of us are individually in the forest and how to find our way through the forest. So she said, humanity was given special dispensation by Source or by God, December 21st, 2012. And she said what that meant was that the great I am, the greater higher consciousness of humanity, was given the choice of ascension. And the I am said yes, no matter how it had to play out down here in our storylines in 3D. And because of that, she said that since the experience of Atlantis, the elementals had refused to ever work with humanity again. And because the great I am of the human consciousness chose yes to the special dispensation of ascension collectively, regardless of how it had to play out here in our storylines, which meant a lot of chaos since 2012. The elementals said that they would work with humanity again, with those who were aligned with ascension for the greater collective cause. And it's just common sense to realize that the only agreement that the consciousness has, besides the original primordial divine blueprint with the greater source, is with the elementals that give us structure and life. That is the only contract ever made. And on the 5th of September, after the end of Burning Man, my birthday is on the 4th, and on the 5th, it was a full moon, and the guidance, I was at Burning Man on the playa. I was blessed to be a part of the greatest camp for unification, which was to bring together prayers for humanity to rise from all peoples and all nations. Red Lightning was the name of the camp. And at the end of Burning Man, the next night when the whole festival was over, the guidance said, go to the earth and do ceremony on the full moon. And that night I did ceremony with a dear friend, Freedom Possibilities, and another man who joined us. And in the ceremony, my consciousness was going through all the veils, and all of these contracts were being offered to humanity. All of these templates were being offered to our collective consciousness. This level and that level and this template and this structure. And my consciousness kept going through and going, no, 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 no. We want none of that. We want no templates. We want no structures. We only want the original agreement with Source. And then my consciousness unified with the elementals. And I went, this is the only contract we say yes to, because this is what allows our spirit to have form. And when we restore ourselves to the original contract with the elementals, which is why all the indigenous people ask us to pray with fire, water, earth, air, the ether, which is love. Ether is the all-pervading field that connects all of us. They are giving us the coding and the instructions of how to restore ourselves to sovereign beings. What does sovereign mean? Bruce Lipton, in his book, The Honeymoon Effect, shows everything on the table of elements requires a proton or an electron to be together. So it's about positive, negative charges holding us together. We need the polarity, duality. And that's what all relationships have been based on. Push, pull, give, take. He then goes on to say that there's 7 noble gases. There's beautiful butterflies and dragonflies flying all around right now. It's incredible. He goes on to say that the 7 noble gases do not require a proton or an electron to complete themselves, because they are in a holistic, unified, dynamic field of wholeness that is sovereign from within. And so to explain more of the mechanics of what's happening as we're going through the transformation, and we'll feel and experience this in our lives, is that the guidance showed me when I was in Crestone, Colorado. I don't remember the last time I was there, but anyways, last March, 2017. And the guidance said, here's what it looks like, to give an analogy of what sovereignty means. As we become more sovereign, as we learn how to unify the Earth Tantra through the singularity of the heart, the masculine and the feminine polarities, our field becomes sovereign. And so the guidance explained this. It said, if a soldier in Iraq is in a non-sovereign field of duality and interacts with a child who is in a non-sovereign field of duality, if that soldier points his gun at the child, there is a cause and effect. And that's what unifies them, in the cause and effect. If the child brings their field to sovereign and the soldier points the gun and shoots it, if the child is sovereign and the soldier is not, the cause and effect belongs only to the soldier, where the child just moves on to discern the choices and experiences it chooses to have. So once we become fully sovereign, we are literally having individual experiences, and that sovereign field, aloha Romeo, massive 10 activation. Love everyone who's joining in. So as the field becomes sovereign, if we're interfacing in a sovereign field, we have all the experiences that we're choosing within that sovereign bubble. There's no longer cause and effect with something outside of us. Now all of the cause and effect is between us and Source itself. That's what Lessons 101 are, and getting everyone into the center of their mothership. Alchemize the energies of polarity through the heart. Rise that energy up out of those lower 3 chakras. It's the 6th initiation. These are the mechanics of ascension. rise those energies up. If we are seeking or hungering for something outside of ourselves to fulfill us, then we are still in the lower three. We need to rise the energy up, unify it. The field then becomes sovereign, and we are existing in a complete field of love. And from that place, we journey home to the stars together in our motherships.
Yeah. That makes total sense. If you're sovereign, whatever's coming at you doesn't matter. If you're sovereign, you're sovereign. If you engage it, for instance, if you let that thing spiral out, like I did with the reptilian thing, then you are that which is not even real. But I love that explanation, because if you hold, that's it. And I learned this walking the cemetery 10 miles down the road here when I started Soulogy, walking the cemetery with the elementals and with all aspects. And whether it would be, and I used to say this a lot because it happened, and I'm the only one that can say that because I was the only one there, but whether it's a 22-foot reptilian that jumps in front of you, or whether it's a big river rat or a wild dog or an energy, regardless of what I perceived it as, I got to the point where my statement and my command for my heart was, I am a sovereign, free being, and nothing could penetrate that. So that explanation that you just gave is very accurate, because what comes at me, however that works in the universal wisdom, universal divine order, what comes at me is powerless if I'm in my sovereignty. Whether it's a cop pulling me over or whether it's a 22-foot reptilian materializing in front of me, whatever it may be, I am a sovereign, and I am an infinite, eternal being. I am oneness, period. Without malice, without arrogance, with pure spiritual, eternal confidence. Holy and whole.
Holy and whole. And this is the purpose of the 35th gene and neutrality. I don't think Richard Rudd uses the word neutrality in there, but I use that word to describe the 35th gene.
Yeah.
Because in a state of neutrality, this is the stillness that is spoken of in all the traditions. This is why we want to find that place within, to still the waters of our beings, so that we are not sending unconscious ripples out to come back and have the experience of. What we're calling forth, what we're inviting people to understand, understand, realize, recognize in unifying in this field of unity, whether you join in the global meditation or not, whether you go to the earth or not, is to recognize the sovereign power within, and that it is time now to activate that if we choose. It is personal choice. In this world of cause and effect, in this world of free will, which the guidance said the story of free will actually ended in March. But so meaning that the tidal wave tsunami is so big now that we're getting pulled along, whether we're choosing it or not. But what Todd is speaking about is also coded in the 60th gene, because Richard Rudd calls the 60th seed justice. And he explains here, it's just such a good explanation. He's talking about Judgment Day. Now from my own personal experience, because I've had many profound experiences in the Tree of Life. And on the 22nd of November, 2015, I was taken all the way through the gates. I had passed all the tests of my blueprint. Our blueprint is our Jacob's ladder to climb up, go through the initiations, check them off, pass, keep going. I had succeeded in going all the way through. My final gene key in my original sequence was the 4th gene of forgiveness, the release of global karmic and financial debt, and the release of the story in totality. And I passed those tests on the night of November 21st, 22nd, 2015, at which time the entire galactic council came in ships I could see with my physical eyes, I was with two dear friends, Jack Star and Machui, who were able to see the ships, and they weren't able to go all the way through me. It reminded me of
Let's see. Did I cut out or you?
each one of us do. This is what happened to me November 21st, 22nd. So in the process that I went through, I unified with a baby named Aurora, who was born on 11/11 at 11/11. He brought in the codes to restore all the feminine archetypes. Once they were restored, many, many miraculous things happened, but ultimately, my friends Jack Star and Machui called me. I was in meditation and they called me out and they said, Unity, you need to see what's here. The ships. And an entire galactic council was there, seen with the physical eyes. And at that point, I was taken through the final gates alone. I sat in the center of my own mothership. When we see the pictures of Buddha or ascended beings sitting on the lotus, that is the sitting in the center of the mothership. And from that place, we get to look down at our entire story, our entire creation. And we get to see it's all us. We created it all ourselves. And the parts that were the most traumatic down here in 3D are the most hilarious from the center of the mothership. In fact, I couldn't stop laughing. The tears were rolling down my face. This is Judgment Day. This is what judgment means. There is no judgment from something outside of us. Judgment merely means, as the director, the writer, and the actor of our story, we get to sit back and critique how we did so that we can refine and perfect it for our next dive into physicality and creation. And from that place, I got to sit in the presence of benevolent creation. I was given full life review from Galactic Council and all star nations, and I was shown the star maps. And I was told that if I chose to, I had released the global karmic and financial debt, meaning the pearl in my theme sequence. I had released the story, and if I chose to return, it would be to unlock the super abundance for all of life. That's what we are doing with this. You are me, I am you, we are one. And this is the moment, the launch of this Gaia Sophia, this living library, the liberation of the energy, the restoration to sovereignty. This is the unlocking of the superabundance I came back for in the story, through the voice, through the word. And I will tell you something, because sitting in the presence of benevolent creation itself and experiencing how vast it is and how truly tiny and beautiful we are, but in the presence of such benevolence, there was only one thing I could imagine to do, only one thing, which was because creation was so benevolent, like a kindergarten child. The only thing I could imagine to do was come back in and create another story, another play, another art project to give to the divine cosmos for the love that I was feeling and experiencing. The only thing I could do was come back and create for creation once more, because that's the game and that's the beauty of it. When we experience this divine love that is giving us life, all we want to do is create. Life gives life to life. And life perpetuates, and it wants to keep going. It wants to keep creating. It wants to keep exploring, and it wants to keep giving back to that source that's giving to it in the most exquisite, refined ways. And so the guidance showed me all the star maps and said, if I chose to come back in, I got to create my own astrology. I rebirthed November 21st, November 22nd, 741, 2015 in Topanga Canyon. And that's where all this began. And there's been rebirth since then. And so the sovereign peace, and the reason I brought all of this up, and Judgment Day, because what Todd is saying about the 20-foot reptilian or a police pulling us over by the side of the car. And I had a great experience with my dear friend Connor Evans, Starlight, one time when we got pulled over, and it was beautiful how just through sending love beams, the whole experience, the police officer was asking us if we ever used essences for our water that we drink and all kinds of amazing stuff. But I'm guided to just share these words from Richard Rudd about what Justice Day means, what the 60th means, what the invitation is. We're inviting people to understand, to take the sovereign authority now to just call forth for ourselves. The 60th CD really does represent Judgment Day. It is the end of our illusion of right and wrong, good and bad, fair and unfair. The 60th CD breaks all the laws of our reality, beginning with the law of time. Whereas we see time in a sequence, the 60th CD experiences all time in the present. This means that there is no event horizon or sense of linearity, meaning that the person manifesting this CD can therefore travel through time. The second law that the 60th CD breaks is the law that holds form together. We call it gravity. In other words, these people are able to travel not only through time, but also through space. The laws of gravity that hold atoms together and maintain order within our cosmos are completely smashed by this CD. This CD is about a frame shift mutation, and it's about causal and acausal. Because we humans think in terms of our morality, we generally see justice in terms of punishment and reward. More often than not, we see it in terms of retribution. Even our most sophisticated spiritual and scientific systems think of life in terms of cause and effect or karma. And this is why I was sharing my story of going home and realizing Judgment Day is just you as the director, the writer, the author, the actors. You just get to see your story for the whole of all of that it is. Okay, so even our most sophisticated spiritual and scientific systems think of life in terms of cause and effect or karma. This is due to the limitation of being caught in a dualistic reality. This is why we are now calling forth the unification of the Earth Tantra, the masculine and the feminine, unifying in the singularity of the heart in order to create a sovereign energy field. However, the true concept of justice is not bound by laws at all. It could be best described as acausal. When something is acausal, it means that it happens for no reason and that we can see or understand. In an acausal reality, causes do not lead to effects, and thus there can be no justice as we understand the word. If someone were to kill someone in an acausal world, they would never be punished. There would be no such thing as duality, therefore no separate person would exist to commit such a crime. How then can we imagine such a reality? The answer is that we cannot. And that's why I'm expressing that in this acausal world, we begin to have the experience in the sovereign energy field, no longer through this duality of push-pull dynamics. And we go off into the cosmos and create our wildest dreams. This is the calling forth of imagination, the imagination from the purity of the garden within us, which will stop creating these experiences because we've already learned from them in a dualistic way. This is this weekend, this is what this solar eclipse on tomorrow represents. It's the dissolution of our personality. It's the dissolution of our dualistic, of our blueprints. It's why no templates, no structures, no forms. We're letting it all go and going home with the learning from it.
Yeah. And we don't know what that's going to look like, but we just surrender to the embrace.
And we can feel it within us because this is what is drawing us forward at this time. Yeah. So sharing as I'm sharing as I'm guided, because this gives people the dynamics to understand the mechanisms at play. This is a piece that allows the mind and the heart to unify, to put the pieces of our own puzzles together to go, oh my God, this all makes total sense. The moment all the puzzle pieces come together is the moment that the spirit is released. And this is about giving people the capacity to ride that tsunami wave consciously rather than being pushed and brushed around and banged around in this final part of the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. Hang 10, baby. Hang 10. Yeah.
We're gonna be on surfboards and swimming with dolphins and riding with unicorns in no time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And literally, that's what it is. Transcendence of time, transcendence of gravity. Go within on the earth plane. Allow yourself to feel the atoms and particles of your creation begin to become more spacious. Go where no man has gone before. That's where we're going collectively.
Yeah. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm getting huge energy pushing out from inside of my skull outward. I can literally see the transmissions coming in, the codes, the activations that we're all mutually sharing. Yeah.
This is the restoration of the 13th aeon of Sophia, the rise of the feminine Christ that is coming through all of life. It's why Todd had such an incredible activation last night. We're all just messengers of a collective experience that's coming through us, and in our sharing, it helps us to see the archetypal nature of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I have a piece to share, but you go ahead.
You have what?
I have a piece to share, but wrap
Share.
it.
No, I don't know what I'm like. No, you keep going. You got something to share?
Okay. Well, I think this is going to open you up for some deep sharing of what we shared the other day. So Todd and I really were opening to what this is that's brought us together and what's coming through us, and sharing in our conversations and walks through the woods on the phone and so on, and dream time, etc. And something that I shared to Todd, because we had a communion with other brothers the other day of how we could broadcast all of these love streams, and other people came together. And after that occurred, Todd said he went into, and I think you should share sort of some of the fragmentation, and maybe first I'll just frame this piece.
Okay.
And then I was guided to call Todd and read him something, because the name of his show and what he's been bringing through all these years, Soulogy. And I said, Todd, the guidance, as soon as I woke this morning, the guidance had me, brought me a message to call you and share something with you about what soul is. So in the structure of our human creation, if you have the book, The Gene Keys, you can go to the 22nd gene, and Richard Rudd explains this perfectly under the 7 sacred bodies of humanity. There's the physical body, the astral body, the mental body, the causal body, the Buddhic body, the Atmic body, the monadic body. Once again, this is to help each of us understand and just get these pieces to go like, wow, I got all the pieces. I'm ready to be set free. So the soul, this is what Soulogy is. And in 2017, the guidance showed we had a spontaneous Buddhic awakening on the 10th of May, Wesak, the Buddhist celebration. And that Buddhic awakening was the end of the earth Akash that has held all of our stories, all of our blueprints, all of our personalities. It dissolved away. And the guidance for 2 years kept telling me that it was coming. I spoke about it on podcasts. I said, the guidance keeps saying, prepare the people, help the people to understand who we're relating ourselves to be. All of it is going to fall away. Prepare the people for the Buddhic awakening of the earth, the dissolution of the soul. So I read this to Todd and I said, the guidance said to read this to you because you're the bridge. The causal body is the fourth body. Sometimes, and once again, I'm reading this from Richard Rudd's book, sometimes dubbed the soul. The causal body directly corresponds to the physical body, but at a higher level. It stores the collective goodwill of the human soul as a memory signature in light. This finely tuned vehicle forms the storage hub for all the high-frequency thoughts, words, and deeds that we have initiated during our many journeys in incarnation. After death, the lower three bodies disintegrate, and only that which is refined and pure is drawn up and retained in the causal body. The causal body responds to higher visions and archetypes that lie beyond language, but that can still be conveyed through direct transmission to the lower three planes. As your causal body or soul develops more lucidity, the higher bodies can use it as a means of directing higher and higher frequencies to the lower three bodies. In this respect, the causal body is the bridge between the lower and higher planes. And then I went on to read to Todd about the Buddhic body, because this is the Buddhic awakening that has collectively happened on the earth plane and is happening within us. The dissolution of those vehicles we were all in, called souls. The Buddhic body is the higher octave of the astral body. As such, it reveals the pure truth that humanity and all the earth planes are in fact one single organism. Once your awareness is fully anchored in the Buddhic body, the causal body dissolves, and reincarnation in the normal sense is no longer necessary. It is through the Buddhic body that human beings have access to the field of universal love and the higher ecstasies associated with enlightenment. It represents the third feminine realm of the Holy Trinity, that of divine activity. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And what Todd is bringing through, and Todd is embodied, and all of his experiences that he shares is the bridge. He's the voice of the bridge. And this is what's happening to us, is the Buddhic awakening. The emanations of it are finally beginning to come through, which is why the 60th CD is about to ignite within us all the end of time, the end of gravity.
Yeah. Well, for 7 years, I said, I am soul. For about 3 years, the first 3 years, I said, I am not a human being, I am soul. Then I said, through the guidance of the Mother Goddess, Divine Feminine, I started to realize through the incarnation, it was the representation of it in my own life. I started to see the integration. So the surrender of the masculine, the allowance and acceptance of the great love of the creation, right? And I started to understand I am soul, but I am a divine human soul. And so this that you shared with me yesterday, I began to understand that in the soul loop cycle that we're all aware of, what we were referring to as reincarnation here in the earth realm, I understood in that moment that the only thing that made the transitions through each and every incarnation was the soul. But the soul is not the end-all, cure-all. The soul, we have higher aspects in the soul. So I am soul, but I am much more than that. The soul is the bridge. The soul is the bridge between what we would refer to in our existence and experience on a very simple terms as the earth realm incarnations. It's the bridge to the higher aspects, higher self, higher multidimensional aspects, source. over soul. So the soul is the bridge. Soulology is an energy. That's just another word for that. Soulology is just the bridge. It's the bridge. And we all are walking that bridge. So look at this dimensional experience I had last night with the brothers. Okay. We went from this holy place, this temple of ritual, of reinitiation, into removing the armor of illusion and duality, all the stories, and we're now walking across what? A bridge. We were walking across a bridge into what I wrote as our paradise. That paradise, everywhere you look, every tree, every sacred geometric symbol, every color in the sky, every blade of grass, every bit of the water, the plasma, the fire, was the pure creation, the divine mother goddess Sophia. And that is the heart of the warrior. That was the heart. That was what was turned against us. In other words, well, if you don't do this, you don't love. That was the illusion. But now we knew. And we were able to come out and play in the fields of that purity. The place was called Purity. And we were out to be able to come out in as innocent, powerful beings that we are, the children of the mother, of creation, creators, expanding her creation. But we had to go from the temple of existence as we've known it, duality. This is a temple. Earth is a temple. Our experience is a temple. This wasn't to be in pain and suffering. This was to expand ourselves and therefore expand the universe. But we had to walk from the temple to the purity, to the paradise, through the bridge. And now I see the metaphoric eloquence of it. That bridge is called soul. We can call it Soulology. But what is that? That is a place, just like right now in the micro, all of these 150 plus brothers and sisters come here into this ball of energy, this vortex, this portal, and we broadcast together. It's not the words, you know, it's not the words, it's the intentions of our hearts. It is our purity, it is our innocence, it is our power, it is our faith, our trust, our sovereignty in motion. In motion. It is spiritual inertia that is unimpeded and broadcasting into all parts of the multiverses, universes, into all of the great body that is creation. So I just absolutely love these spontaneous, imaginative, intuitive, creative, pure moments. This is our true power, and I ask in this moment in front of all my brothers and sisters to stay in this space in each and every moment as I walk further into the expansion of this great experience that we're having together. Thank you.
Thank you for your humility. Thank you for your powerful voice and languaging of what this is, because what we're all collectively experiencing right now together today on this love stream is actual alchemy, because my heart field right now is massively expansive. The energy going through my arms and my hands is a reflection of our collective alchemy that's occurring on the physical level of our carbon bodies collectively. By holding this field intact together, something is happening, and it is this 60th gene when multiple beings on the earth unify in this CD. That is what we are doing right now. I don't know who else can feel this, but my heart and my hands have never been vibrating so much. This is the alchemy of our incredible carbon-based elements into light. Your words are so powerful. And Todd, did you read me something that you wrote the morning you woke up after that experience when I read you the part about the soul?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I got you. I got you. That was yesterday, right? Okay, here we go. That was yesterday.
I no idea. It was in the miracle.
Yeah, that was in the miracle. Yes, I did write. I wrote three things, and but the first one was there was talk of a bridge. Well, the bridge was in the reinitiation with the warrior brothers as we laid our arms down. But there was another one that I believe was.
Because I remember.
Yeah, here it is. Here. You're talking about? Did I read it today?
No, no. You read it when we talked on the phone yesterday morning when you said you had shared the pieces with Morgan about the soul that I had sent you. And I thought you had written something through the night.
I think. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I read that. I read that earlier.
That today? Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember. Here, I'll read it again. I'll read it again. So, all of our lineage is coming back. We are the bridge of what we know and what is still unknown. So, we are the bridge. The memories are beginning to flood to the heart, mind, spirit. I am soul, but I am much more than that. I am journeyed through many planets and stars, and so are each one of you. Blue avian, blue Hopi, those of the deep blue. We are all the ancient builders, all known seeds, races, and not. Nothing separates us, not any past, future, parallel life recalled, not any level of transmission, talent, skill, channeling, download, and certainly nothing in these many incarnations on the earth. The earth is the center. All we have created, been experienced, is returning to whence it originated. Every aspect returns to us. Everything returns to us. Surrender to the embrace. The human is the mission. The human is the gift. The human is the hero. I am that I am. And so from what I received in our conversation yesterday, in our connection, was the fact that the line of separation affected everybody, each and every one of us. It didn't matter where you were born on this earth, what tribe you were born in, if you were isolated from civilization, so to speak. There was separation in your camp, in your tribe, all of us. And there is no separation whatsoever, period. Not galactic, not human, not color, nothing. There is nothing that separates us at all. And that's becoming a reality for all of us. And that's what this whole thing about what you were talking about earlier about maintaining your field of sovereignty, because no matter what comes at you, it doesn't matter. You're like a duck, the water on a duck's back. It just rolls right off. Morgan came up with a great line the other day. She said, if you look for a lower vibration, you'll find it. So, if you engage that which is not real, you must engage it from something that in you that you think is real, but it's not real. Another way to say that is if the egoic comes at you, the only way you can engage it is with the egoic. So we have a sovereign, free piece of real estate in this universe, however you want to put it. That's our territory. That X marks the spot, and this is our territory. This is our piece where we hold up the divine, and we serve. And when we serve creation, we serve ourselves, and we serve ourselves, we serve creation. I mean that in the highest way, not in the 3D service to self. service to the higher, service to all aspects. Because when you serve all aspects, you cannot divorce yourself from any aspect of yourself. So you can be as connected, and I've been there for 2-3 years, connected to all that high stuff, but I was not connected to the human being. The human being is the reason that we're here. This is the vehicle of expansion into the unknown, because that's what creation does. Walks into the unknown. Creation is everything we are. Creation didn't just have fear isolated to this realm. Anyone that's had any type of communication with the disincarnated knows that there is aspects that are that you'll find here in this realm on this side of the quote unquote veil, such as fear, such as ego. I've run into it. It's all the same shell game. We are that, period. We are the dog chasing its tail. And we bit our tail, it hurt, and now we know it was us all along. Dorothy, tap your shoes. Let's go home. Yeah. Okay. Somebody wants to comb my hair. And more coconut oil. What do you got there?
Yeah, I'm just doing something here. I'm taking care of something. There we go.
I'm doing screenshots of my wild hair.
What there is from these bundles, which I often share from, the Star Knowledge bundles.
Yes. Yes.
The 1313. And simply what you're saying, what Morgan said, the last line of it, from the violent presence of Grandmother Holy Amethyst, says, let it be known that your vibration is your passport to the stars. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So we raise our vibration. We understand what tools that we're sharing, what's happening, so we know that it's real. We can allow ourselves to relax into this and trust that it's totally real and it's happening. And that's what the call out is. And so there's many people with the gathering that I'm hosting in Victoria. People are flying from Ireland. A woman is coming from Maui. People are feeling the call.
Yeah.
And it brings me back to this for saying that this is the common person. It's the coding that has been held within the common person for so long. It doesn't matter what color we are, what shape, what race, how much or little money we have, what we do for a living. It's all irrelevant now, because as Todd said, the story is over. The story was programmed in the waters of our DNA, the waters of our being. As bags of water, we had programmed storylines going through us. And there's this really beautiful piece that Richard Rudd shares in the Gene Keys, in the 55th gene, about water. And when I was crying originally, when I started working with water, one of the most amazing things to me was that tears would just start flowing from me naturally, but it was like my whole body was crying. It wasn't emotional tears anymore. My whole body would just begin to cry. And so Richard Rudd talks about, he talks about water in what's happening in our bodies. And as the human body need for salt decreases, our digestive systems will begin to mutate. This is, after all, a solar plexus mutation that we're going through. The solar plexus is the root of the heart, where the roots of the heart go in. It's filled with ganglia. It's a brain of its own, a consciousness of its own that's activating as the energies of the sun are transforming. And Romeo will really relate to this. He'll understand. He's gone through Romeo Barron, who was tuned in through the massive Christed transformation. So here's a piece to share, because on the 11th of January 2017, I was taken through all the final gates. And what first happened was that my first eye turned into nectar, and that nectar, as one golden drop, dropped into my solar plexus. And then my solar plexus became the sun. This hand came in and decoded my solar plexus like the hand of God. It showed me that the I Ching is a circle of dots and lines. Those dots and lines represent our personality and everything we think we are. And those dots and lines are imprinted on the waters of our being to give us the experience. So as we complete, this is why stillness is a shortcut through. This is why neutrality is a shortcut through, because we literally still the blueprint, we still the personality. We become no one, no where, no thing, no time by finding stillness through meditation. And as we do, so this big hand came in and decoded my solar plexus like a combination lock. And then my solar plexus became the sun. I became the sun. The external sun is a reflection of our internal transformation that's occurring. Once again, these are mechanics of what's happening to the physical vessels, the heavenly hydraulics. Like Richard Rudd explains, how the nymph turns into a dragonfly. And that's what's happening through us. It's these physical bodies are literally going through a transfiguration. And so he talks about the solar plexus mutating. And he talks about water in our bodies and salt. And he talks about how our tears and our sweat are actually the releasing of, allowing the body to release the old imprints, which is why water is so beautiful and so important at this time, to really study Dr. Emoto's work and see how water is imprinted with emotion and form. And so these pieces are the transformation that we're going through. So let's say that on Sunday, when we all go to the earth, and I think we'll unify in a love stream before we do it, go to the earth, still the waters of our being. Be a still pond within, and from that sovereign place, call in the dissolution of the veils, the dissolution of what no longer serves, the dissolution of the hierarchy programmed in the 4015. The 4015 is about hierarchy, systems based on foundations of fear, with someone at the top and a whole bunch of people at the bottom. And as long as there's someone beneath each person at the bottom, that's the scapegoat. And the scapegoat is the way that makes the pyramid strong. So as we still the waters of our being, we are calling, and this really was happening on our June 13th new moon celebration. We did the love stream on. But in the still waters of our being, we are the creators. Yeah. Still the waters, go to the earth, call in the dissolution of the old, call in the opening of the stargates within our DNA, because the stargates are within us. And as we powerfully call it in, what we begin to see with our visual eyes, our sensual perception will begin to change rapidly. Project Jason, as Angel Humphreys talked about, the Chinese elder said, July, August, September, October, November. Let us call it in powerfully together, collectively. The time is now. So in this love stream, we've shared a variety of things. This is by the grace of creation, the love stream that is coming through. We really didn't know where this was going to lead today. It's jumped around to many pieces. These pieces are handholds that the guidance is saying to give those who are gathered, who get it, who know these codes and keys within us, who are just going, yes, I know that piece, perfect. Because it's like an engineer who knows how to go into a system and turn certain things on and turn certain things off. This is what we are sharing today. Literally, to understand that each one of us is the engineer of our own mothership. We've climbed back into central command of the mothership. Here's how we turn off this gene. We activate the higher aspect of this gene. Go within and do it. The power is us. We are the ones driving these ships. And there's one, I feel like, final piece to share here. And it's programmed in the 22nd Gene, the book, The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. The 22nd Gene. There are 9 initiations in this. I always say that Ascension is a mechanistic process. It's textbook. And Richard has given us the book to understand this. So there's 9 initiations for what it means to be human. And most of us who are tuned into this podcast are going through the 6. The 6th initiation is the initiation of communion. The 6th initiation is the greatest experience a human being can have. It represents the zenith of our human development and the end of our evolution on Earth. The mystery of Holy Communion is the mystery of sacrifice. This is the full awakening of the Christ consciousness in a human vehicle, which requires the death of that which identifies with the principle of form itself. This stage is often referred to as enlightenment. The light referred to is the pure light of the 6th body, the Atmic body, which is born from within the Buddhic body and enlightens the lower 3 bodies. As it does so, it causes the causal body to dissolve, thus severing the link or bridge between the lower and higher worlds. In mystical terms, this involves the dissolution of the soul, that aspect of human consciousness that is drawn again and again into incarnation. Thus, it is said that at the point of enlightenment, the indwelling awareness can no longer take incarnation and forever escapes the wheel of samsara or illusion. The initiation of communion also shares in name with the 45th Siddhi, and that was the one I was just talking about, which describes the great mystery of taking the sacred sacrament. The communion involves the direct imbibing of divine consciousness at the altar. In entering this field or frequency, you are transcending all sense of being separate from others. This is symbolized by the blood of Christ and marks the final breaking up of the karmic residue held in your DNA. And this is what many people are going through right now, which is why they're experiencing in their consciousness chaos. We have to, basically, the Christed over self overdomes over the physical vessel, and it hoovers up all the experiences we have ever created. So they come back through the physical vessel, through the waters of our being, and they go past our conscious awareness, which is why just ride the waves of what we're seeing go by and go get in the back seat, because we're going through to all of those things. Don't give any attention or time to all the thoughts coming through us, because as the residue of the karmic DNA is breaking up, that's what we're seeing. So if people experience chaos and see chaos, they have the potential to create chaos. Whereas the higher initiate knows, just sit in it, be in it. This too shall pass as we witness it go through. For the grace of Christ to enter you, you must be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. And once again, we all know that Christ is not a religion. Christ is the access for the consciousness back into the tree of life, into our interdimensional travel to the stars. For the grace of Christ to enter you, you must be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, to give up your lower bodies and their feelings, desires, memories, dreams, and knowledge, and to be taken over by the greater being who has been waiting all along within you. To enter this great initiation is to die into the second aspect of the sacred Trinity, the Christ. What this means, what the Earth Tantra and the teachings of the Earth Tantra coming through are about. However we do this, however we draw those energies up, we have to recognize when we are in a state of hunger that wants to pursue something outside of itself for fulfillment. The mature initiate recognizes that there is nothing outside of the self to fulfill the self, because everything outside of the self is a creation of the self. And if everything outside of the self, if we desire that thing outside of ourselves, then we are still working from the lower nature of who we are. Because when we activate into the higher energies, there is no desire in the flesh. The higher imagination, the higher consciousness begins to come in of creation, which means we no longer need a middleman called money. Because as we move into the higher activation, we become creators in full conscious form of the creation. And now we love the creation in a new way. We interface with our creation in a new way. So how do we know if we're still in the lower nature? Because we are pursuing the energy of something outside of us, and the thing outside of us is an illusion. And this is where we get caught. We have to come back to the love affair with the divine within, restore and rise the energy up through our central channel. This is called sovereign. This is called birthright. This is where it's at. And it's the only way through. It really is the only way through the mechanistic process of ascension in the physical vessel.
Right on. From the A and Amen to the Z and Zen. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. That was good. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. You gonna close it out with some light language? I thought you would.
Maybe you'd like to begin.
Damn it, I knew she was going to say that.
In honor of that beautiful picture posted on my Facebook page of the luminosity gathering 1 year ago in the cycle of linear time, the day inviting people to truly activate their voice. Let us all begin to activate and speak our light language together in this moment of closing this sacred circle, this container of completing of this love stream. 111 comments. 1,111.
1,011 comments. Oh my God.
I will confirmation.
Yeah, that was confirmation.
You know what? Based on that, let me just read the 1111 one more time from the Sacred Star Knowledge Bundles. In memory of who and why we're here. 1111, the Star of Freedom. We have all been wondering what the 1111 ceremonies and teachings are. 1111 is the prime frequency that blesses Earth and all her relations through our twin planet, the Morning Star. Long ago, the Kumaras, an ancient society of Venusian masters, accepted the task of raising Earth from apocryphal darkness onto the Star of Freedom. In league with the masters of Pleiades, the Bodhisattvas of Andromeda, and the galactic presences of the whirling rainbow, the Kumaras instituted a heart-resonating frequency of universal and spiritual law to actualize Mother Earth's destiny. At the beginning of the age of Pisces, this star path from galactic center, through Andromeda, through Pleiades, through Venus, onto Earth, was established by Emmanuel as the Christ path. With 2,000 years of evolution of heart through the shepherd of love and blue road of spirit, Earth's children are finally ready to receive the galactic laws of Creator that govern all that is. The Morning Star. Ampoa Wihapi. The moment, the miracle is now. We are in the miracle. And we are ready. Let us all speak our light language together in our journey home to the stars.
All right.
The sound of the feminine voice rising through the masculine heart. That's unity. Love and power as one. I'm guided to share something because the beauty of that. I'm guided to share how unity came into me. The day unity came into me, a transmission came through. And this is what it said. To all of the epically powerful men in my life who helped ignite the flame of power and passion within, to remind me of my wholeness, to rekindle my conscious awareness of the flame of source consciousness that burns brightly within me to share with all life. I honor you. I dance with you, sing with you, love with you. I celebrate you. I thank you for holding me to account, for challenging me, laughing and crying with me, working and playing with me, triggering me, seeing me fully, demanding of me in your quiet and subtle ways that I step up to the plate and own my shit, shadow, and everything in between. For demanding through your actions that I stand firmly embodied in and planted on my own 2 feet. For stopping nothing short of holding the most profound space in all of your beauty and grace for me to meet the speed of light and catch the infinite wave of ever-expanding grace and perfection. For reflecting back to me my light, for settling for nothing less than my highest potential in me, in each moment, just by who you be with me. For dancing with me in this great mysterious dance with creation. Thank you, epic soldiers and warriors, rebels and saints, rule breakers, lawmakers, angels, and all others, the mightiest of hearts, you divine and beloved beings, poured into the containers called men, who have reminded me along the journey through our interplay that I am both love and power unified. And thank you for allowing me to find on my own, through your continued love and support, a finer and finer balance of the alchemy of these energies, so that they serve greater and greater reverence for all of life. Thank you for holding this space for me, for all feminine to rise into her strength and wholeness. And remember, we know this has not been an easy container for you to hold for us at times. We thank you. We honor you. Together we have done it. The white phoenix and the blue lotus have unified within. Power and love is one. Call me Unity now, my new name. And now we begin anew. Moment by moment, we play. Let us play. One love. I and I.
Now we have 1,209 comments, and that's my birthday. It always pops up at the right time. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. On behalf of all the masculine energies. It's a new day today. So we're going to do another collaboration with two divine goddesses, friends of yours, in 2 days at 7:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a wonderful, wonderful energy today with all of these beautiful brothers and sisters. 150 the entire time. Very powerful.
Aho. Infinite,
Aho.
infinite light, infinite aloha.
Aho.
We love you.
We love.
We are unity.
Yeah, that's right. See y'all a little bit later. Love you, sister. Love all of you out there. Thank you so much. We'll see you a little bit later. I can't think of when the next time is. Sometime later today. I'll see you. Thank you so much. Big hugs. Big love, everybody. Be the bridge. Be the bridge. We're not going home till the last lost, struggling soul crosses that bridge. See y'all later. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye to the fairies and the elves, and now the Sasquatch.